Hello and welcome to Art Marketers. This is Alexandra, your host. Today we have a very special guest, Joanne Levy, and she's had a variety of marketing experience in the arts industry. So, Joanne, tell us a little bit about all the various projects and fun things you've been working on in the arts industry.
Well, first off, hi. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Joanne Levy, and I currently am Director of Global Marketing, Communications Technology, and Community Engagement for Gage Academy of Art. This is really my second segue into the nonprofit art space. I started my career in entertainment and basically merged creativity with technology. I've always been interested in art because I feel like the movie and the television industry is actually moving images. And it was always beautiful. And then with the advent of different technologies, I thought to myself that we could do the same thing that we were doing for entertainment, but do it for good. And so after that, I worked very closely as COO at F Cancer, this amazing global brand dedicated to prevention, early detection, and psychosocial support for cancer. And what they did was they really were a digital first model. So from there, I learned so much about creating community online and then also merging it with my technical ability, which was my interactive media patents from entertainment, which led me back to where it all started, the true foundation of art, which is Gage Academy of Art.
Oh, wow. So you have a wide resume. It sounds like you've worked on a lot of really fun and exciting things. What kind of let's dive a little bit deeper into, the projects that you've worked on and what parts of them that you're really proud of.
There's a lot that I'm proud of, especially as a woman being at the cutting edge of technology, meaning creativity. It is always really difficult to not put technology first, but actually put creative first. So, my first foray into that was a huge project, and I was actually one of the first people at MTV to get content on the iTunes store. That was a whole journey in and of itself, and it was back in the day, so we really faced a lot of challenges, which MTV is very proud of, and Viacom in general is very proud of the creative that they offer, and they didn't want that sacrifice when it came to technology. So creating that online immersive experience that was complementary to broadcast was huge. Then after that, I created two patents for interactive media, and that was really a foray into developing the youthful mind. And so, because all these different technologies were coming up, it was really one, you wanted to be protective of the youth. You didn't want to in any way manipulate them or subjugate them to advertising in any sort of false way. So, we actually created a really cool virtual toy box with Nickelodeon where the dolls would come alive. It would be really just before virtual reality, and the kids could interact on their in their own way in a safe space. So this patents I'm really proud of. I'm also very proud of a lot that we did with F Cancer. We created caregiver tools. We created a online model that was fundraising based before CrowdRise and before these sort of crowd versions of raising money. And then last but not least, we just created the Gage 360 brand. So during COVID, Gage Academy of Art had never offered one single art class online. We were very, old school and stuck to the traditional in classroom model. Once COVID started, we quickly had to pivot and we created this beautiful brand called Gage 360 and basically recreated art. And our instructors, who are world renowned artists, they moved all of everything online, and we now have this whole separate visual arts learning center that's called Gage 360.
That's absolutely incredible. It's a very interesting thing to hear how different industries have adjusted to COVID or just like kind of changed as the times have changed. And so it's just been really interesting to see. And it's really exciting that people are able to make those changes so that people can still get access to the things that they need. Now, I was kind of curious on how you've leveraged digital media to serve the arts industry because obviously we've had a lot of really cool tools that you've used, but I'd love to hear on how you've leveraged that digital media to serve the audience.
That's a great question. And one of the wonderful things about art is that it's a real opportunity for equitable education. It's a way that everyone can be creative, and everyone's creative journey is different. So, what we did was we actually protected how art is taught, painting, drawing, sculpting, all the foundational elements. But then we took it online and we looked at the different technology out there. So, for example, we looked at it from a perspective of what do people need, especially when the pandemic hit? People were feeling lonely, they were feeling lost, everything was taken away from them. And what we realized is that we can create community online. And so we leverage technology in multiple ways. We created Facebook groups, which were actually not an outlet for a lot of art students. So what we did was we had everybody share their art in Facebook, and these Facebook groups turned into masterpieces. There were moms that were home with kids posting their incredible artwork. We, of course, turned to Zoom, and we replaced all of our in person classes to Zoom. And then we created a new website that really was an ecosystem of a digital architecture that changed the game for us. A lot of art schools are very much steeped in the old way of doing things, and we leveraged social media, we leveraged website, we leveraged every single community tool that was out there. And then we also, we're still playing with the ideas of creating our own version, whether that's AR, virtual reality. Art is such an amazing way to, you can still stay true to the true discipline of art. But if you leverage technology in the right way, it's just a better way to bring creative to life.
100%. Now, earlier you mentioned that you had faced some challenges. It's sometimes difficult to put the creative before that technology. Can you share some of the challenges you faced? I know, it's awesome that the Facebook groups kind of went off, but what about the things that didn't work, or that we struggled with as we were encountering those changes?
Well, let me tell you, with every digital campaign comes challenges. I specifically for me in my career, I actually try to be one of the first to adopt new technology. Now, with new technology, there's always the unknowns. Is it going to work in a specific browser? Are people going to like it? Is it intuitive? So I would say, besides Gauge, I would say my biggest challenges were actually finding equitable solutions for people that maybe don't have access to technology. I'll give you an example. When we were creating the Viacom content, which includes logo, Comedy Central, MTV, there was certain content that they didn't want to take, and we felt that even if you're entering into a new digital space, it's very important to be equitable across all of your brands. And so you really have to fight to get maybe some of the lesser known content or the content that may be a little bit riskier, because that's where technology thrives. It's bringing the lesser known content to the masses. And so that takes a lot of hard will. So when you're doing a digital campaign, it's very important not to just go the easy route. We've also faced a lot of challenges specifically with art. A lot of the instructors were scared that their painting, that their acrylics, that their oil, that their sculpture was not going to be able to be translated into online. But what we found is most of the time the instructors were able to create a whole new environment. So I'll give you an example. We have a free community event called Drawing Jam. Now, in the past, when it's been in person, we've had around 200 to 400 people. This past year, we moved it completely virtual, and we had 800 people. It was
Wow.
a free community service event. It At different times there were all different demos and lectures and instruction, and people absolutely loved it. Picture from the comfort of your own home being able to be up close and personal with your favorite instructor, to learn the watercolor, to see the colors in all its glory, but to do it from the comfort of your own home, and to do it in a way. Art is a very personal experience. So so it's almost like a more intimate experience when you're able to do it online, because you're not nervous or scared that, the student right next to you is going to look at your painting or you're not ready. So A lot of people think that going digital and going online, especially with art, takes away the intimacy. But I think it actually adds to the intimacy of being so up close and personal with your instructor.
And just even bringing back to that point that you mentioned about inclusivity, what about the person who can't make it all the way to a certain place, or they don't have a car, or they don't have the tools they need to get to a certain class, whereas online kind of gives them a little bit more flexibility. So it becomes a lot more inclusive, especially in the fact that you can include more people who might not have been able to make specific events.
You bring up such a great point. We went from being a small local school to a global brand. We were able to reach so much further than just Capitol Hill, Seattle. We were able to hit China and different places nationally, Texas, that we never would have been able to have art be accessible to unless we had gone online. Our audience grew by almost 45%, and we were in countries that we had never been before. So it really does just, you become a citizen of the world. And I think that is the most equitable thing you could do when it comes to art.
Yep, you nailed it right on the head. So I was kind of curious about, just some of the strategy that you use in digital campaigns. We've had a few of our attendees tell us, they use polls to keep their virtual events engaging, or they do different kind of tactics. Is there any like fun strategy or tactic that you find that makes virtual events a lot more engaging?
Absolutely. So, my biggest thought here is to look at a digital strategy like its own being. A lot of people just try to take what they've already been doing and translate it to digital. That doesn't work. You need to start with a macroscopic strategy and think about the user first. What is your metrics of success? What does this person want to see? What are they going to be most interested in? Look at the technology that you're using. What is that good for? Is it good for community? Is it good for one on one? And really make it so that the campaign speaks to your user first. You could do that through, we use SurveyMonkey, which is really easy. We also have a constant conversation with our community. So we have a chat functionality on our website. We have an active user base on social media through Instagram and Facebook. So a lot of times surveys are almost too much after the fact. You really need to have that ongoing conversation where daily you're hearing from your community. You have open dialogue with them. They feel comfortable to come to you. You have someone dedicated to servicing them. And then you look at user first, you protect your creative, and then you do digital. You don't necessarily just translate into a Frankenstein, a digital campaign from what you've already been doing.
Oh, that's so true. And two, oftentimes you can reach out to the community, and a lot of that, if say you're struggling to find that creative, reaching out to the community is a great way to create something that they want that is for them, and that can actually improve the effectiveness of that campaign or of that strategy.
Absolutely. And the other item that I think is really interesting when it comes to digital is the youth know it all. Go to the youth first. We're so used to having adults and authority lead the way, but it's really time to let the youth shine. They are the first people on social media. They know what's cool, they know how to use digital. They are experts strictly from living that we will never, some of us older generation may not be in touch with. So I really think tapping into the youth is really the way of the future, specifically with technology and creative.
100%. And seeing all that innovation come to life. I mean, I'm not going to lie, during COVID, I saw some of the most creative TikToks I've ever seen. It was
Mhm.
just super fun to see everyone kind of let their creative side shine. So, we're going to be wrapping up pretty shortly. But before we sign off, I was curious on where you see the arts industry going since there's been all these changes.
I truly think the arts industry is on the verge of a revolution. I think with the advent of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion being such at the forefront of everybody's mind, I think that the arts are going to become more accessible to everyone around the world. And digital is actually going to make that happen. You're not going to have to go to a really expensive school to study with your favorite instructor. It's literally going to be at your fingertips. And so I think that what I would say to every arts institution is learn the technology, create digital campaigns, make it its own business model. Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Everything you have is at your fingertips. Listen to the youth And don't be scared to think that you're going to lose any sort of quality in art. In fact, it creates an excellence because it's able to tap into talent that we've never seen before because of the equity that digital provides.
100%. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Joanne. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you.